This video is brought to you by Against the Flow of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is a book about Jake Fayard, a Marine veteran who is unhappy with the political machine running the state of Mississippi. He decides to fight the corruption from the inside. Jake will face more challenges than he ever has and will stand up for what he thinks is right. His notoriously hot temper will push him to the edge of murder, along with his friend and brother Kobe Barhanovich. Together, they will fight the system and give the power back to the citizens of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is now available on Amazon. A link to the book will be placed in the description below.
Count time on the compound. All inmates return to their bunks. Beyond the Count, Life on the Compound. Brought to you by former Sergeant Allen of the Florida Department of Corrections. On this YouTube channel, I will explain to you the ins and outs and the do's and don'ts of a prison. Hope y'all enjoy. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And if you are a brother or sister correctional officer, y'all remember, be safe, and we never walk alone. All right, y'all. So let's try this again. Beyond the Count, Life on the Compound. Your host, former Sergeant Allen, Florida Department of Corrections. I saw a video, kind of a TikTok video, and it's about, well, you know what? I'll play the video. Y'all go ahead and tell me what you think.
All right. Good afternoon. I'm 65 years old. I'm a retired U.S. Marine. I'm a world champion power lifter. Strongest man in the world. I got something for your brothers out there with your goddamn pants down. Pull your fucking pants up. Pull your fucking pants up. Goddamn it, nobody want to see your ass, okay? Pull up your goddamn pants. Women's out there, don't give them your fucking phone number. Don't give out no phone number. It's bad luck to give your phone number out to a man got his goddamn pants.
All right, so as you can tell, the Marine in the video was basically saying what I have heard myself both in the free world and in prison say many times. And I mean many, many times. Pull your pants up. Now, we all know where sagging the britches come from. We know what that means. We, as those of us who have worked in the prison, we know easy access. This plays right into PREA. I've had experts on PREA disagree with me on what I'm fixing to say, but I don't care. There is no consensual sexual relationships between inmates. Inmates are not allowed to consent. They are, in fact, wards of the state. We know this. We're trained this day one. I actually, while I was working for the Stone County, Mississippi Regional Correctional Facility, we had a PREA class. It was an in-service training, and the people that were doing the class apparently did not agree with what I said, that two inmates engaged in sex violated PREA. they disagree with me. My argument was and still is, if they can't consent, then it's non-consensual. They have given up their right to consent to sex. They don't have the right to consent. It's not just inmate on staff or inmate by force or, whatever. There is no consensual. So, we know that there are inmates that still, for whatever reason, some of them not even gay. Some of them are not even realizing where they are, that will walk into the housing unit and they will have half their ass hanging out the back of their britches. First off, that's disrespect. It's disrespectful to the inmate who's doing it, which means he has no self-respect. If there is a female officer, it could be disrespectful to her, much like gunning or pulling, or if you don't know what gunning or pulling is, an inmate masturbating to an officer is blatant disrespect. Much like any other intentional exposures that an inmate's doing. I don't tolerate it. If I see an inmate walking around sagging, the first thing I'm going to do is give him a verbal order to pull his pants up. And I've had, especially the younger crowd, the inmates, push back on me. Well, that's just how I wear my clothes. You're not in compliance. There is not a prison that I have stepped foot on in the 3 states that I have worked corrections in to where the rule book will permit an inmate to walk around showing his undergarments. There is not a prison around that rule number 1 is you follow the last lawful order given isn't rule number 1. If an officer gives you an order, you follow it. I do not stand for this. You will not walk around. Now, in all fairness, if the housing unit is a one-man cell, single-man cell, I'm probably not going to say anything to the inmate. He's in the cell by himself. The door's locked. He's behind the door, probably already on disciplinary confinement. I'm not going to waste my time. Or he could be a CM. I'm not wasting my time. But if he's in an open bay housing unit, absolutely pull your pants up. Because if he's sagging in there, it could be as innocent as some of the inmates like to make it out to be, or it could be that he's looking for a boyfriend. And as I have covered in a previous video, institutional homosexuality is a real thing. When I see pants sagging on the street, I just think you're an idiot. In prison, it tells me you're open for business. The oldest business. And that's where my PREA alarm keeps going off. And when my PREA alarm goes off, that tells me I need to do something. That tells me I may need to protect that inmate. And to protect that inmate, that means I need to curb that behavior. If that means that I need to write that inmate up, he's getting written up. If that means that I need to watch that inmate to make sure that he's not engaging in sexual misconduct, guess what I'm going to do? Because that is my job. My job is care, custody, and control of the institution, which includes every inmate on the compound. Yes, absolutely. Does that inmate possibly need to go to a special housing unit on protective management? Very possible. I don't know, but I'm certainly going to make contact with that inmate, and I'm going to say, hey, man, pull your pants up. Now, in all fairness, a lot of inmates wear elastic band pants. Most institutions do not permit inmates to wear belts. So, on the first one, I'm not going to write them up. I'm just going to say, hey, man, pull your pants up. Just pull them up. Usually the inmate will go, I'm sorry, Sarge, you're right. Second time I see it, I'm going to be a little bit more stern. Hey, man, I just got done telling you to pull your britches up. Do I need to get you an inmate request so that you can go down and get another, maybe a size smaller pair of pants so that they can fit you better? Usually at that point, they start getting a little snippy. Depending on how that goes from there, could result in at least a CC, which is a corrective consultation, or it could walk into DR territory, which is a disciplinary report, or in Mississippi, an RVR. DR in Florida, RVR in Mississippi. Depending on his attitude and depending on the totality of circumstances. And again, something to watch. You get inmates that will do it intentionally. Some of them walk around like that because they think it's gangsta or it's cool. That point, DR all day. And then, of course, it can escalate to now you catch them in the shower area or in the bathroom area or in another part of the housing unit or other areas, and they, inmates are like anybody else. If they can find a small, dark, quiet space to go do what they do, they're going to go do it. And at that point, that is PREA. Preserve the areas of crime scene, separate the inmates, take them to medical, don't let them shower. Preserve all evidence. Do your whole, whatever your institution's PREA policy is. That's what you follow at that point. Even if they say it's consensual, it may not be. This gets into the territory of a lot of men don't like to report rape. Maybe that inmate owed the other inmate something and is taking it out in trade. Maybe the inmate was forced with threats of violence. Give up the booty or we're going to kill you. We're going to beat you. We're going to do this. It could be witness intimidation if the inmate was a witness to a crime. You know, it could be retaliation for that. We don't know. So we as correctional officers need to do our due diligence to make sure that we do what we have to do and err on the side of caution. This also goes down to the next point of, if you have to ask if you should write an incident report, the answer is yes. If you're questioning whether you need to report an incident, report it. Because especially with PREA, the last thing that you want to do is not report it. Because if you don't report that occurrence of PREA, you don't record that sexual misconduct, rape, what have you, you're in the wrong. And you're coming into the territory to where you may be criminally charged. We are all mandated reporters. Like it or not. We have the training. We have the training. We have the duty to do our jobs. We have the means to document. There's nothing wrong with doing your job. In fact, there's everything wrong with not doing your job. So if you see an inmate on the yard and he is sagging, or you see him in a housing unit and he's sagging, instruct him to wear his uniform properly. And that will cut down on PREA. Let the inmates know you are watching, you are in command, you are in charge, and you will make sure that they follow the rules. And if they don't follow the rules, there are consequences. Don't overlook things. Also, consistency. I would say sagging is one of my biggest pet peeves as far as inmate behavior goes. That is probably one of my biggest pet peeves. That, I would put sagging so high as it would be up there with an inmate that would find out my first name and would call me by my first name. Both of those are very high up on my don't do it list. They're high up on my things I will not tolerate list. And at that point, though my reactions on both may be different, they could result in the same action, which means the inmate could wind up finding himself in confinement. At least getting a DR. So y'all think about it. Y'all stay safe. Keep your inmates safe. And remember, we never walk alone.